I'll start recording this one. We got part of it. So don't forget to move a number. If you have a number at the end, before you start this process, you have to get it by yourself. When they're talking about maximum height, whether they want the height or the time, maximum height is vertex, and that's when you do all this completing the square. So when they talk about maximum or minimum, they want this completing the square thing. So we move the number over, factor out a negative 16, that's where we are now. Now you do your off to the side steps, take half of that negative 4, you get negative 2, square it and you get positive 4, and add that to your parentheses. In order to know what to add to the other side, you have to multiply this negative 16 times your 4. You really have negative 64. So make sure you put negative 64 over here on the left. Oh, what? That's going to be a boring video. Negative 48 and negative 64 over here. When you combine those two negatives, you get negative 112. And then when you move that over, you do the opposite. That's why we have plus 112 to both sides. Factoring this, remember, you can go ahead and put it into your parentheses squared. What we got over here when we took half was negative 2. That's what goes right there. So we have our vertex. Now we have to go back and see what they asked. They wanted to know after how many seconds did it reach the maximum height. So the answer to that question was 2 seconds right there. If they wanted to know the maximum height, we would say 112 feet. Everybody's pretty much there. You know ground is equal to 0. So I have that S of t is 0.
So we're not moving that 256 over again.
That's right. That's exactly right. Because we don't want that vertex. So on this one, this is just like a straight up algebra 1. That doesn't mean that it's easy. It just means this is not the pre-cal stuff you've been doing. So this is where you got to switch gears. So you have a trinomial. When you have 3 terms, you're going to want to factor. But I don't want that negative 16 there. So I'm going to divide all of those things by negative 16. I can't take a t out because they don't all have t. 256 doesn't have a t. So you end up with t squared. 96 divided by negative 16 is negative 6. And 256 divided by negative 16 is negative 16. Right? Yeah, right here. I second guess myself. Oops, I need a little t right here. T squared minus 6t equals 16. I'm gonna do this down. I don't like going up. It makes no sense. Oh. So what I'm writing now is what I got when I took out negative 16 out of everything. Now get rid of that negative 16. Your goal, again, right now, your goal is to get that t all by itself. I'm going to factor this thing so that I can solve for t, but this is in the way, so get rid of it. And when you get rid of stuff, you do the opposite. Instead of multiplying, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 16. 0 divided by negative 16 is 0. And you're going to factor that statement right there. Remember, when you're factoring, you're thinking of what 2 numbers I can multiply by to give me 16. I have 3 choices. 1 times 16 2 times 8 or 4 times 4. Those are my choices. Yeah, 2 and 8. This tells you how to test. So you're going to subtract them to see which one gives you 6. So I know here's my pair. So that's what goes in your parentheses. I know I've got a T here and here. I know I have a 2 and an 8. You just have to figure out which one's negative and which one's positive. If I want negative 6, that means negative goes with my big one. So positive 2 and a negative 8 gives me negative 6. When I multiply them, I get negative 16, so now it's factored. And if you multiply two things and you get 0 for an answer, either the first thing is equal to 0 or the second thing is equal to 0. Well, the first one gives me a time of negative 2 seconds. That's 2 seconds before anything was done, so we know that's not the answer. It's not going to hit the ground 2 seconds before you throw it. That's crazy talk, okay? So I know that's not it. This one gives me 8. So that's my answer there. At 8 seconds, it's going to hit the ground. You don't like those, I bet. You know, the interesting thing is the calculus ones, the ones where you're doing more calculus, are a little bit easier. This is just a memory thing. So when you're solving for 0, factor things out that you can to make it simpler. Factor using your Algebra 1 factoring. On the announcement page on Blackboard, I have some Khan Academy videos. If things like that are really fuzzy to you, go through those and practice those videos because you don't want to be fuzzy on those kinds of things. So kind of catch up on that practice. So the answer is 8 seconds. That's when it will hit the ground.